Hello, my name is Kathy, and today I'll be continuing the talk on Feng Shui. Today, we'll be continuing to learn about how to handle problems with the basic shape of your home. But before I do this, I wanted to let you know that because I have a great many videos now on many different topics, that I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easier to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. When learning the principles of Feng Shui, I like to approach this subject as if the knowledge were placed on an ever-descending spiral that moves ever deeper into the understanding of Feng Shui. First, we explore what Qi is and the different types of Qi. Then we moved around the spiral of knowledge again at a deeper level and explored the concepts of yin and yang. And then we moved on to a discussion of the 5 elements, and the 3 cycles, and the 9-star system, and your lucky stars, and the fortune of your door, and the study of the Bagua and the 2 diagnostic methods, the effects of clutter, difficult door and window placements, and how to handle problems associated with the shape of your home. Your home breathes like a living body does. Its breath is Qi, and it comes in and out of your space through the doors and windows, and it flows like a river of life through the corridors and rooms of your home. When your living space has irregularities of architectural design, you can have corresponding issues in your life. Today we will continue learning about irregular architectural elements in your home. First off, if your home has more than one level of living space, then each level is analyzed using the stairs as your doorway. What this means is that if you have a home with a ground floor and a second story, the second story is analyzed using the top of the stairs as your doorway. You determine your compass direction by standing at the top of the stairs and looking down the stairs. If you have a basement that does not have an outside door access, then you would find your compass direction by standing at the bottom of the stairs and look up. If your basement does not have a door, if your basement does have a door that accesses the outside of the house, then that door determines your compass direction. So far, we have discussed spaces that, though they may have irregularities, are designed using a single grid architectural form. Let us now look at some homes that are designed on multiple grids superimposed at odd angles to one another. This type of home gives the feeling of floating and tension at one and the same time. In these architectural designs, the walls do not run parallel to one another. Corners are not square, and rooms have unusual shapes. Weird things happen to people and to the psychic energy, health, and fortunes of people who live in such places. Because there are a seemingly infinite varieties of these house shapes, and because they all appear to be so plastic, the Feng Shui methods for diagnosing and treating them have to be correspondingly flexible. The Feng Shui approach has to be spontaneous and inventive. In the practice of Feng Shui, there are 2 basic shapes by which all irregularities are brought into balance. The first is the circle, which symbolizes heaven, and the second is the square, which symbolizes earth. All homes designed according to a single grid, such as those we have already gone over in previous videos, can be ultimately resolved to the square, or its variant, the rectangle. The circle can be effectively used for an extremely unusual shaped home, especially if it's situated in the countryside, on some land where it is possible to do landscaping that integrates and balances the shape of the home. We will now look at a few examples of these architectural features. In the first diagram, We find a house design that is formed out of two overlapping architectural grids. The major issue with this architectural design was how to harmonize the two areas. The second figure shows how these issues were analyzed and ultimately handled. We can see that the elements of the rectangle that is running east and west are wood and metal, respectively, and the elements of the rectangle that form the second grid that runs northeast and southwest is earth. In order to integrate wood and metal, which is in a destructive cycle, we need to use the element of fire to harmonize these two elements and use the generation cycle. In this case, the element of fire is the element needed to harmonize all of the elements of this home. The elements of wood, earth, and metal are all harmonized by fire in the generation cycle. Fire generates earth, and earth generates metal. I therefore recommended that the wall indicated by the arrows be painted a shades of red or purple. This wall was used because it was the point midway between the wood and metal elements. The wall painted on both sides because both ways needed to be harmonized. I also recommended that a mirror be placed on the red wall in the living room area to create the illusion of symmetry in an otherwise unbalanced shape. In this next example, we find the plan of another unusual home, this time an apartment, whose shape caused the couple that lived there to be in constant conflict with each other. The shape of this apartment is basically a triangle, which corresponds to the fire element. The triangle is the most wrathful shape. It inspires expansiveness, excessive energy, and aggression. In this apartment, the apex aims due north, the direction of the element of water, and with the doorway facing southwest, the apartment is ruled by the element of earth. And so we can see that fire and earth are both out of harmony with water and must be integrated. Because in the generation cycle, the element fire, represented by the overall shape of the apartment, generates the element of earth that rules the apartment because of the southwest door direction, and because the element earth destroys the element water from the destructive cycle, the apex does not merely aim at the north, it actually attacks the north, which is the water element. What was done to calm the unbalanced energy of this apartment was to use the earth at the doorway to support the water in the north by affixing a small round mirror corresponding to the element metal directly inside the apex to the north. This used the generation cycle of metal generating or strengthening water. Going one step further, I recommended that some plants be put in the area of the north point to draw the water element harmoniously into the space again, using the generation cycle of water generating wood. And so, what was at first an outrageously warlike space was transformed into one of peace and harmony that allowed the couple that lived there to relax and settle their differences. In the first diagram, you can see the basic outline of a house in the country. When first looking at this house, my first impression was of a broken neck. The central part between the two squares is the kitchen. One square is to the east, or the direction of wood, and the other square is to the direct west, or the direction of metal. In the destructive cycle, metal cuts wood. One half fights the other. The occupants of this house were a married couple. As an example of the conflicting energy that was being generated in this space, when we were in the kitchen discussing what colors to use, the couple immediately began to argue with each other. Small wonder. The colors I recommended for the kitchen, which was the area of greatest tension, were reds and yellows, as their corresponding elements, fire and earth, create harmony between the wood and metal areas as shown in the generation cycle. Wood generates fire, fire generates earth, and earth generates metal. And so the use of reds and yellows in the kitchen was indicated. Once the opposition of the wood and metal areas was harmonized, it was necessary to figure out how best to integrate the entire structure. I decided to work with the circle because of the extremely irregular shape of the overall house plan. As shown in the second diagram, the floor plan of the house was drawn with a circle around it. Then the lines from the four sides of the two squares were projected until they intersected the circumference of the circle. At the places on the land corresponding to the points where the extended lines from the western square meet the circumference of the circle, I recommended that they install small rock gardens with red and purple flowers to stimulate earth and fire. And at the places where the extended lines from the eastern square meet the circumference of the circle, that they plant trees of one species, such as ash or alder, to stimulate wood energy. The circular pattern integrates the house in two ways. First, it resolves the two conflicting squares into the circle of heavenly blessings. And second, it creates yet another elemental bridge between wood and metal that consists of the eastern square and the selected trees for wood, the red and purple flowers for fire, the rock gardens for earth, and the western square for metal. If you live in an unusual space, experiment with its floor plan until you discover its underlying component features. The plan will probably resolve into 2 or 3 rectangles. Using your compass, find out its directions, and according to its compass directions, find out its elements. Judge the harmony or discord of its elements according to the sequence of generation. What element is needed to make the necessary harmony? What color corresponds to the needed element? Try placing the needed color where the overlapping shapes join, as demonstrated in the second example. I have a great many videos now on many different topics, so I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easier to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Well, that's it for now. To stay up to date with my latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this free YouTube channel by clicking the red subscribe button right below this video. Take care.